Good evening, everybody. This is supposed to be a very informal kind of setting, so everyone just feel relaxed and enjoy yourself. I am Amal Akbar, communications consultant at Riz Consulting, and my boss, Imran Rizvi, is friends with the authors, and that makes the co-authors friends of mine, which is why I volunteered to do this evening. It's wonderful to see this room full of so many people to support our co-authors. The book, from what I've seen of the book, it's very insightful. It's relevant to Pakistan, which I think is really something unique and different that the book has to offer. And I think it's something relevant and it's relevant to our future leaders. You know, up-and-coming 20-somethings, 30-somethings. It's critical for those youngsters who are the leaders of our future to read this book.
Amer and Qaiser, big congratulations on achieving something which was so necessary in our country, as Aman has so rightly said. And in terms of the book itself, it is interesting that I don't have to say anything new, which is that nothing is perfect. And sure, it is flawed in many ways. General Electric as an organization, for example, is functioning in 180 countries. They have 340,000 employees, and they talk about a culture which is not only diverse, but at the same time very together. So the togetherness comes from commonalities between people of diverse background. So from that standpoint, when I saw through this book, I found that a lot of what you have mentioned is so true for the East as it is for the West, North, and the South. So that is my few bits about the book. Beautifully done. The font is big, which means that any one of us with poor eyesight can also read. So that is a huge relief. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you.
So I was saying that, presently I'm overwhelmed with these two feelings, feeling of pride and a feeling of guilt. Let me just explain the first one. Last year I was in Dubai and I met Amer Saab. We at times do meet, and he talked about, we are writing a book, Amer and Qaiser, on leadership. Now, being a student of this subject and change management, naturally I do come across a lot of books on this subject. So I thought, okay, chalo acha hai, Pakistan ke hisab se bhi hoga, but I didn't feel a lot of excitement, I must say. And then when I saw the book, I really fell for it, because this is one of a kind. And I felt so proud that this is the first time, at least in my limited knowledge, that we are talking specifically about our national heroes in some way, right? It is not Jack Welch, it is not Bill Gates, it's not anybody, who is talking about every Tom, Dick and Harry, and there is no mention of any leadership example from our country.
Everybody knows that anyone who studies leadership or who's a trainer for leadership, as I know, has some special favorite, something special that they always consider very close to their heart, and they want to talk about that. So when I was asked to select a portion, I found a portion of the book that I found particularly interesting. In chapter 2, the book describes the challenges of business leadership in Pakistan, and it gives 5 key areas, those areas that are particularly challenging for people. So out of those, I have selected one, and according to Mr. Kamran Rizvi, I think I still need to put on my glasses, sadly, despite the big font. So, ego management or massagement. Anyone enjoying a senior position within Pakistan has to learn with dealing with managing the associated ego boost, which we refer to as ego massagement. There will always be multitudes of people telling you how you are pretty much God's gift for the business community and yet remain humble as a leader. As humans, the constant massaging of the ego often results in leaders losing touch with reality and overestimating their own level of capability. This in turn results in erroneous judgments or worse, bad decisions.
Thank you, first of all, Amer and Qaiser, for having me here. This book's journey started about 5 years ago when Amer and I talked over the phone. And I told him, I said, here at MobiLink, we're absolutely fed up of having Harvard and MIT and Stanford come over to teach us what leadership is. It's great to hear leadership strategies, half of which may be applicable in Pakistan and half of which may not be. So what we're really looking for is a program that caters to our local population, that caters to the local market. And I said, we're looking for that, and you, mashallah, have the credentials, thanks to your very close connections, your relationships with many of these top CEOs of Pakistan. So I told him, we need you to design a program and run this for our management. And he told me, he said, okay, I can do that. I don't even know if you remember, but yeah. I told him I need an awesome program. So if you can't put something together, forget it, we're not doing it. So he told me, he said, you know, more than a program, I'm thinking of writing a book on this. And I thought, well, you know, that's a great idea because no one in Pakistan has done this yet.
One of the things I say in the actual book is that if CEOs like Jack Welch and others that we name in the book were asked to come and work in Pakistan, my bet is that they would last no more than a couple of weeks before they run back home. Because Pakistan is not an easy place to do business. And while there is certainly a patriotic message in the book, we also point out certain realities of doing business in Pakistan. In fact, we asked a lot of the CEOs about the challenges and the unique aspects of doing business in Pakistan. One of the readings focused, could you just keep pressing it until, thank you. One of the readings from the book that Sanya was doing talked about the ego massagement issue, and I'm going to elaborate on that because that is one of the key problems that business leaders in Pakistan face. This is just a list of some of the CEOs, or all of the CEOs that we spoke to during the research for this book. And we were very fortunate that the foreword of the book has been written by Zohair Khalik, as Suleiman was mentioning. He's contributed immensely to the book and the way it's come about. And we've spoken to people such as Hussain Daud, Sirajuddin Aziz from Bank Al-Falah. You can see the list. And a real highlight for us was being able to speak to Babar Ali about his life and times in business. And he was very kind to spend a lot of time with us giving insights into why he's been so successful. And I'll share a couple of things with you as far as his contribution was concerned when I take you through my presentation. So you can see quite an extensive list. And there are many more CEOs we would like to interview if the second edition is to follow. And one real life example I quote in the book is Mr. Hamesh Khan, the ex-president of Bank of Punjab. Now, I had the opportunity of working with him. I found him to be a real gentleman, a professional person, etc. When he was heading the bank, and he took the share price from 80 rupees to 120 rupees, his team members, who I also got to know very well, used to say, Khan Saab, what a tremendous leader, what a visionary, what an outstanding person. They could never stop saying positive things about him. Every time he entered the room, everyone would stand up. And once he was, let's say he faced difficulties, now he's in jail and nobody wants to know him. And that is a sad reality. The ego boost that comes with being a leader has to be managed. So this is one of the key aspects of the chapter, which is the Pakistan-specific one.
Once upon a time, there was a farmer. And the farmer had a beautiful cow. Badi achhi khoobsurat guy. And he wanted to sell it off. And two gentlemen went to him, they were interested in buying the cow. And they said, farmer, before we make an investment, please tell us how much milk does she give? Doodh kitna deti hai? And the farmer looking in there says, I'm sorry, I have no idea. I've never measured it. I've never tried to check how much milk does she really give. And the people said, look, we're going to make a huge investment in buying this beautiful cow. So it's very, very important for us to know how much milk does she give in a day, in a week, in a month. And the farmer again says, I'm sorry, I have no idea. But one thing I'm really sure of, that the cow is very honest. The cow is very honest, and she's going to give you all the milk she has. So dear friends, I'm not really sure, and Amer, I'm sure, is not really sure whether the book we have written, you're going to buy it, or going to read it, and where you are going to utilize some of the tools and techniques and the ideas that we have presented in the book, and going to make a difference in your personal and professional life. We're not really sure about this. But one thing we are really, really sure of, that both the cause have been very, very honest.